Right on, dude. Well, yeah, thank you again for joining us. We have not only a top fuel, but also a funny car world champion on the podcast, Del Worsham. I guess we got to get right into it. How's life with COVID in your world, in your camp?
It was kind of tough on us here because we started a new team this year, and I left the Clutter Racing team and signed back up with Alexis, and we built this new team, and we got everything together, and we got just 2 races in, and then the whole COVID thing hit, and we had a semifinal round at Pomona and went to Phoenix, and we lost first round there, but stayed and tested, ran really well on Monday. So I was thinking, all right, here we come to Gainesville, the 3rd race of the season. The car's running great. This is going to be awesome. And on my way to Gainesville with my daughter and my wife, we were touring colleges because I've got twin daughters, and we were in the South looking at colleges, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, turn around! The race isn't going to happen. It's going to be trouble." So it was pretty tough having a brand new team, get everything built, and just took months.
That sucks. And so, what's life like now for you? Like, what's the vibe around your world? Like, are you guys getting ready for a 2021 world or what?
We are. We got lucky, and with NHRA and some of our sponsors and Mel Yellow, and then our sponsor with Lexus, by August we were actually running events. Started off kind of fanless, not many fans, and by September and October we were racing in places like Texas and Florida with fans, and we were able to get in 10 or I think a total of 11 races, and it was nice because I mean we had this whole brand new team sitting here when you get a chance to race, so we were able to get some races under our belt. We had some ups and downs. We had some races that were great. We had other races that were we had some terrible, we had some crashes and fires, and we kind of grew through it. But we ended the season on a great note in Texas. We got to semifinals, ran some great runs. So yeah, no, it's coming around. It's going to be a long off season. Our off season, we don't start again until March again. So basically, here we're sitting for another 5 months.
Wow. Yeah. Cause I think it was maybe right at the start when you were starting to do those runs again that we talked about you coming on, and you're like,
right.
Just give me a minute just to kind of plow through this stuff. And then we'll do this. What's your first memory, not necessarily of you racing, but like, what's your first memory of drag racing?
Oh, brother. Okay. So I grew up in Southern California. And my dad, my mother and dad split at a pretty young age. I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. And my dad had a condominium over in Laguna Hills, which wasn't far from OCIR, from Orange County National Raceway. And I remember going out there with him, and I could hear the funny cars running, on Saturdays when I was staying with my dad. And we could hear, he's like, "We're going, man. We're going to go out and watch him." And going out on Saturday nights to OCIR with my dad and my sister and watching the funny cars race.
And what was it that got you into it? I mean, it's a family thing, right? But what was it specifically that kind of
my dad was a huge, after him and my mom divorced, my dad was kind of a single guy, and he went out and bought himself a Corvette, and he was a cement contractor, bought himself a 62 Corvette. And I can remember at a young age being at Orange County Raceway, and I've always told a little story, which is a little bit of a fib, that I'd never been on the drag strip until I raced in a funny car. Not totally true.
Right.
I remember being about 6 or 7 years old, and he had a 4-speed. And I would run the gear shifter, and I just watch his foot go in. I just pull the gears. And one time we got to the semifinals on like a bracket night out there, and semifinals. Larry Sutton, the starter, he told my dad he's got to get out of the car, man. The guy, I had a football helmet on, like a Rams helmet. So it was exciting.
Dude, that's such a cool story.
Yeah.
And then your first year, you won rookie. You won the rookie of the year, did you not?
I did. I got really lucky.
Dude.
Just getting to drive it all. I always wanted to be a drag racer, but I never knew what capacity was to be a driver or worker or tuner or just a mechanic.
Just something in that world.
And then it kind of some events took place that also there I was 20 years old driving the car, and my first season in 1991. We were doing pretty good here and there, but I was the only full-time guy on the team. So basically on Thursday nights, I would go to the airport, pick up my dad and a couple guys. We'd run the race. Sunday nights, I'd take them home, and then I'd get the car to the next race. And we got about 5 races in, and we got to Atlanta, Georgia. And we didn't have the best running car. We didn't have a bad running car. And things just started lining up, and you could tell like we were doing pretty well. And next thing I know, here I'm in the final round against Mark Oswald in Atlanta, and true story. We were going home after that event. Basically, there just wasn't enough money. We're gonna go home, work, save up our money, and pick back up in the summertime.
Wow.
ACL Coast Southern Nationals in Atlanta, and won the damn race. So now I have $20,000 in my hand, And that was enough money to keep us going and keep us racing. And I was so shy and so naive to what was going on. I didn't even know that there was like a press conference room when he won the race. So I remember standing there and I was all done and I just turned 21 years old and I'm looking for a beer and it's a dry county and there's no beer and I'm tired. And Kenny Bernstein grabbed me and says, "Hey, we have to go to the press room." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going to no press room." He's like, "Oh no, you're going." So I have to go to the press room with Kenny Bernstein, Bob Glidden, and I believe, I forget it was Top Fuel, but it was somebody like Joe Mott. It was somebody very big. It was three of the biggest guys. So I was up there with them, and it was a great time.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like that for me, like that was what, 90 or 91 that you won that rookie.
1991, yeah.
And that's the year I graduated from high school. And like my older brother was a huge fan of like, NHRA and just kind of NASCAR and just fucking balls out speed racing, right?
Sure.
So I remember you racing since like I was in high school, really.
I was just barely out of high school.
Which I was just going to say, which puts us at about the same age. What was your first pro race? How fast were you going and what was your speed? And what was the time, rather?
The first time I qualified or actually raced?
Raced.
Okay, yep. So I raced Ed Days McCullough. First round, 1990 in Pomona at the finals, and I ran a 5:56 and like right around, I think 262 miles an hour or something like that. And I lost my first race, but it was a decent race and I didn't lose. And I didn't smoke the tires. I didn't run into them.
Yeah.
I remember I came into funny car racing with zero experience. I mean, I showed for the finals, basically it was just a license. I never even competed on any level on the drag strip. I was a BMX racer, and I raced my bicycle around until I was 16. I had a car and I chased girls. So I really didn't have a whole lot of like racing experience, but I could drive the car a little bit and I didn't think I would hit anybody and I was able to get a license.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have. It's pretty big.
And I mentioned off the top that not only is it a top fuel, but it's also the funny car champion. Not many people. How many people can say that? Not many people can say that.
No, only a couple of us ever got a chance to do that. And let me think. Kenny
Bernstein.
Bernstein and Selzy are the only other two. And it's definitely an honor. Not a whole lot of people have the opportunity to do that, is one thing. But then once you do have the opportunity to get to drive cars that were prepared well enough or give you that chance, I got really lucky in the top fuel car and even in the funny car to get to drive for Alan Johnson and Sheikh Khalid and Alan Nabi in the state of Qatar. That was just talk about falling into something at the right time. It was 2008. I had just got done with my Checker Strucks Craig sponsorship. They'd been bought by O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and they weren't going to renew the contract, and the whole entire country was going into a depression, or basically there wasn't much going on in 2008. At the end of 2008, and along comes this thing, and I interviewed for the job and got it. And next thing I know, I'm driving a top fuel dragster for a championship.
That's crazy.
It was
I love it, man. That's a great story. Walk us through some of your game day rituals. What are you doing every race?
Sure. Well, the first thing you do, nobody wants to be real superstitious. You don't want to say you wear the same underwear every day.
Right.
But one thing you do is you definitely do not change routines because you don't want to forget anything. So I always put, the boots on the same order. I put the gloves on the same order. I get in the same side of the car. You always try to do things because routines are always better than just off the cuff. So those are a couple of things I always did. You want to tell yourself that it's just another run but it's not. We all know that. You do the brunt, you're backing up. When you're racing against John Force, for a title, or if you're just qualifying against somebody, it is different, and I'm going to tell you that right now. And I'm the kind of driver, and I always was, where really, really emotions did play a big part in how I drove. I always thought, I don't say I tried harder, but I've tried harder maybe at reaction times in racing, and I tried a little bit harder at just driving the car better and qualifying. And there's some drivers that can do both great. Sean Langdon drove for us, when I raced with him, and he was such a focused driver. He could cut the reaction time and drive the car. Well, I'm kind of like, I could do one or the other, but I couldn't do every day at all times. I kind of had to pick those moments and rise up during those times. So, rising to the occasion when it was time to do a good job, I always tried to make sure that I understood, what was on the line every single run.
What is the fastest time you've run?
In top fuel, I ran a 3.73 at 328, and then in the funny car, I ran a 3.83 at 333, 332, right around there.
Can you explain that? What that's like, the pressure to your body and stuff? Like, is there any way to actually
There is. Yeah. You know, because I've driven both cars. Back when I first started driving in the early 90s, I actually drove both cars in competition during the same time at the same events. I raced the U.S. Nationals one time in both cars and won rounds in both cars, one first round, 6 minutes apart. And the funny car, let's start with the funny car. I drove it first. You sit way far back in a funny car and you can't see anything moving on the side of you. Whereas like there's no like sensation of speed because there's nothing really going by your peripheral vision. You can't see things going by where, let's say like in an airplane, when you're taking off on the runway and you're going along, you see the buildings and the road, then all of a sudden the airplane rotates and it just goes to blue skies and you don't know you're going fast anymore. Mm-hmm. So the fuel car, you can see things going by you and the sensation of speed is very great. You sit low and you can see the front wheels turning, you can see the guardrails going by, and it just feels like what you would imagine with 330 miles per hour. Our sensation of speed is not there. Anything. You know, you're driving into this little spot out there and you're trying to look over to the engine and it's making noise and it's smoking and there's fire out of the windows and you're just trying to win and you're going down the track and not unless something goes wrong or something throws off your sense of what's going on, do you understand how fast you're going in a funny car because nothing's just really there, as opposed to the top fuel car just feels very fast. And right. It definitely, when you go to stop, both cars are about the same when you go to stop. My favorite part of the run has always been like pulling the parachutes. You pull the parachutes, you let off the throttle, and everything just gets quiet, and you basically just float at over 300 miles per hour with chutes out, and it's definitely an accomplishing feeling.
Yeah, man. I couldn't even imagine what that would feel like. Is there anything that's even come remotely close in your life to the feeling that you get and the adrenaline that you get from drag racing?
No, you get a little bit of it out of a roller coaster when it first takes off. A really good roller coaster has like a big electric engine, yeah. So slip and it gives like a pretty good inertia, like initial like kind of slap. But it's in control and you're not driving it and you know you're going to be okay, as opposed to driving a funny car or a top fuel car where you're the one driving it, you're the one that's in control of it, and if you don't do everything right, you're going to have a problem. You know, you're going to run into a problem. So really, I don't really know of anything, you know, and an airplane or a jet takes off so slow and they land so smooth. There's really nothing like the sensation of, you know, positive 5 G forces to a negative 5, like experience drag racing.
Yeah. What's your daily driver and how's that lead foot?
Yeah, no, I don't go fast. I have a Toyota Tundra I drive around in the streets. I have a 67 Chevy, a Nova Super Sport.
Oh, nice.
I actually got it out yesterday and drove around a little bit. The weather was nice.
You just got that yesterday?
No. I drove it around.
Oh.
I actually won it in 1999 in a bet.
Oh, no way. In a bet? What kind of bet was that? How did that go down?
Well, it was a one-sided bet. I really couldn't lose. There's a friend of mine's car, one of our sponsors, and when we go out to his shop, he had a whole bunch of old cars like that, and I'd clean them all up and, you know, help change the oil and kind of get them going. And one day, I hadn't won a race. After I won my first 2 races my rookie season, I didn't win another race until like 1999. There was like an 8-year span there. I didn't win a race. Mm. We're at a shop there in Auburn, Indiana. He's like, I'll tell you what, if you can win a race before I sell this car, and I'm going to sell this car, you can have the car. And I won the next race.
Nice.
So, pink slip, and I still have the car today. It's a great car.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I'd love to get outside of racing and of course what you're known for. What are you binging right now? What are you binge watching?
Oh my goodness. It's Schitt's Creek. I've been watching that, a lot of Schitt's Creek.
So good, right?
It is. It's funny. Have you ever watched that?
Yeah, man. I'm up to date with Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, it's funny. We're like in season 4 right now.
Yeah.
What else we've been watching lately? Shoot, man. I watch South Park any chance I get. My dogs aren't barking. I've seen them all though. I just watch them again and again.
Yeah.
That's about it. You know, we've had a lot of the news and a lot of stuff going on around here as far as elections go. So that's about it.
I know, right? The election's just been manipulating everybody's time, and it's something else, man. It's not even close to being over. It's just like, you know, we're watching you guys just going.
Yeah, it's got a long ways to go.
It's pretty bad. Are you a big fan of all those superhero movies that are being released?
No, I never really watched too much superheroes. I always kind of grew up around motor racing, and no, unfortunately, I don't know too much about them.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I was going to ask you, what superpower you'd want to have if you could have one, but
dude, I'd want to be like Iron Man though if I could.
I know, right?
It was awesome.
It's pretty awesome. Do you believe in aliens? Do you believe that they visit us or maybe even live amongst us?
No, I don't. You know, I would think that there would be. I'm not gonna say it's not possible. Anything's possible, but you would think somebody would have seen or knew something about him by now. You know, one of us would have some kind of proof. But again, who am I to say? So I really can't say that. I don't
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
Normally, Del, I ask, and this seems ridiculous to ask you this question, but have you ever had a near-death experience? Not where you're like floating over your body or whatever, but more like, holy crap, man, I could have died there.
Yeah, racing. Actually, I've had two of them.
Yeah.
In 1994, car burst into flames, caught on fire, was going fast, pulled parachutes, no parachutes, just ripping down there in 1994. And I can remember just getting so hot and burned and covering up my face with my hand. And I ended up spending 21 nights in the burn center for skin grafts. And at that time, I wasn't really sure. You know, I kind of got through that, but I remember that night I had a horrid nightmare. And I remember the car blowing up in the nightmare and just like losing my breath and not knowing if I was, alive or dead. Just the first night in the hospital. After that, it never happened again. But that first night, it was scary. I remember waking up in New Jersey, just not knowing what happened. Not even sure if I'm alive or dead.
That's crazy. So the parachutes don't pull, then like, what are you just riding out 300 miles an hour, burning up?
The fire burned them off. The car was going down pretty fast. It just kept going and going. And this is before your safety equipment was pretty, it wasn't in advanced stages we're at now. So we didn't have like these fresh air breathing systems, and the Nomex suits weren't as good. Nothing was as good. And I was just basically just getting burned and cooked alive in there. And the car was fast, and I could feel that. And I knew it was moving, and I couldn't see. And I had to hold my breath, and finally jumped out. And I remember not being able to get my helmet off. And it's because my hands were just burned up. My hands were just, it had blown the gloves open and just passing out and waking up in a helicopter, and it was a big mess.
Crazy.
That was one. And then another time in the funny car, again, parachutes couldn't get them deployed because they blew too high up in the air and I couldn't reach the levers. I'm flipping end over all the safety nets. And when the car finally came to a stop, I thought it was blind. I'm sitting there, and like everything's just black, and I don't really know where I am. And I kind of reached down, and I could feel my legs, and then I flipped up my visor, and it was just full of sand, and I could see, and I looked down at legs, and I just undid myself and just took off running, man, and took them a while to find me, and I was hiding in a van. I must have had a concussion at that point.
Holy shit.
So those are the two times. But really, in 30 years of racing, that's not bad.
That's not bad, man. Yeah. And so what is going through your mind as you're waiting for the Christmas tree to turn? Like, are you just kind of in that moment?
Focused. Absolutely. Just being focused and knowing, hey, because it's a random tree, you can't guess the tree at all, or you don't know what's going to come. Once everybody's staged, once both cars are staged, it's got like a second and a half of randomness. And if it's a quick light and goes off in the first half second, it feels like it just came on instantly. And if it takes a second and a half to go off, which is the longest light you can have, you think the tree's broke. So you know that your level of concentration and focus is so great that 1 second is the difference in thinking something's wrong. And you're just watching that. You just want, you want to be reactive. You want to be active, not reactive. And when that amber comes down, you just got to smash the throttle, and hopefully you get away ahead of the other guy or girl.
Can you pick a career highlight? Can you nail it down to one thing, or is that just impossible?
I think winning that race in 1991 at 21 years old would probably have to be the career highlight. Still to this day, the youngest guy to ever win a funny car title, and there's some new along now that are going to challenge me for that. That was pretty big. Second thing, I won the U.S. Nationals and the Skull Showdown, in the same weekend, which was the highest, it's the most money you can make on one day racing, and I did that. That ranks up there, and then the two championships, the one in Top Fuel and the one in funny car. So that's kind of my order.
Yeah, and you're partying after these
oh yeah, we have some epic parties afterwards.
They must be just crazy nights, man.
We are, a quick story. I'd say probably I got married in 1999, and I'd been saving up parts most of my life, and I was going to build like a Top Fuel engine in my backyard and put it next to my barbecue, just out of old parts I had. And I thought that'd be cool, you're having a barbecue and just fire up my blender and be awesome, or fire up this engine, it'd be awesome. And then I saw somebody with one of those weed whacker margarita machines one day.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, huh. So I remember I was in Bristol. I was in Bristol in 2000. And I woke up my wife in the middle of the night. She's like, what? And I'm like, hey, I'm going to take that engine I'm building and I'm going to mix margaritas with it. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I saw that guy with that little weed whacking thing. No, I can do better than this. And she's like, go to bed. So I was going home. That was race day night too, going home. And she came home from work that Monday and I'd taken her blender completely apart and it's across my house. And she's like, what are you doing? And I my the micrometer and the tape measure out and I made it everything exactly 5 times bigger.
Nice.
Down hopper and built this with my dad helped me. And we built this big old like margarita machine and we still have it to this day. And it burns on 100% nitromethane, top fuel engine, mixes 15 gallons of margaritas at a time. And NHRA banned it in maybe 2007 from the races. The parties were just too big and too epic.
Oh yeah.
I was in trouble. And I remember telling JR Todd in 2018, if we win the championship, I'm bringing it back out. I don't think anybody in NHRA remembers that I even have this thing. And when he won the championship, driving the DHL car like I did, we drug it out to Pomona. And I talked to the new president of NHRA, and he's like, just don't cause any trouble. So we did. And it was a fun night.
Yeah, that sounds fun. You know, I've actually reached out to JR and hey man, come on my podcast. So
oh yeah,
I'll give him another poke. He seems like a really good guy too.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. I'll respect your time, man. I'm gonna wrap it up here. You're at Del Worsham on Twitter.
Yes.
Are you active on Instagram as well?
A little bit. You know, my daughters do more with it than I do.
Yeah.
You know, they post here and there, but more Twitter. You know, if something's exciting or something really gets my interest, you know, I'll get on there a little bit. I definitely lurk a lot though.
Yeah, no, I definitely see it from time to time. So, and thank you for following and sharing some stuff as you have in the past. So, is there a website you want people to come and check out?
AlexisDeJoria.com. You know, Alexis and I racing together. She posts everything, stays up on everything. So we're looking forward to 2021 season. You know, we had some trouble, like I said, 2020. We finished up strong, some semifinals and a couple low ETs of a couple races. So I think 2021 is going to be our year.
Yeah, she's been a guest as well. Super nice as well.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
her and her dad and her family and people. Jonathan, they're great people.
Right on, dude. Thank you for taking some time and joining us here in Vancouver, Canada.
Sure, man. You got it, man. Anytime. Hopefully I'll come on after we win a race again one day.